What's up, guys? Welcome to Poor Man Mods. Today we're going to talk about some of the Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh, and Icon ratchets and breaker bars. Look at their pros and cons and their price points and hopefully help you decide which one you think is worth it. So let's get into it. Alright, so to start things off, these are all of my personal tools. I bought all these. This is not sponsored or backed up by Harbor Freight or anything. And I am not a full-time mechanic. I used to be a full-time industrial mechanic. I've never been a full-time automotive mechanic, but I do stuff on the weekends, so this stuff isn't seeing everyday hardcore use. But like I said, I have used some of these in the industrial environment and also automotive as like a weekend warrior. I do like both the Pittsburgh and Icon, but we'll dive a little bit into each one and hopefully help you decide which one you think is the best for you or the better value. So hopefully this video will help you out and answer some questions. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, why don't we start off with talking about the swivel head ratchets, and I absolutely love these, both the Pittsburgh and the Icon. I only have personal experience with the 3/8 Icon, but by looking at it, it applies the same characteristics and features across the board. So really the biggest difference visually for these ratchets is the Pittsburghs have a push button to release the socket, and the Icon does away with that. You can still pull off sockets without pressing the button on these, but pretty much when you push the button, it falls right off. With the Icon, you have to physically pull it off. There's no button to release it. Also, the color of the grip is different, and it's a slightly different shape. The Icon has a more comfort grip, quote unquote, compared to the Pittsburgh, which I do like the Icon grip better. And it looks like it would be like an inch longer, but that is only the grip. The actual metal is the same, so they just make the grip a little bit longer. So you kind of get a little bit more leverage with the Icon, but really not so much. Now, the Icons are a 90 tooth ratchet compared to the Pittsburgh 72, which 72 is still pretty good. And there you go. And pretty much the main differences apply to the other sizes of these Icons. They do machine the Icon a little bit differently. They definitely try to make it look more like a snap-on with this little ridge here compared to the Pittsburgh, but it doesn't really function any different. It's just an aesthetics thing. It does feel nicer in your hand, though. This is a better grip. Take out a pair of calipers and measure some of the metal here and see if you get any more metal for your money with the Icon. So the shaft on the Pittsburgh is 14.2 millimeters, and the Icon is actually 13.8, so this is skinnier on the Icon. So the shaft on the Pittsburgh is 14.2 millimeters, and the Icon is actually 13.8, so this is skinnier on the Icon. Let's measure the fork here that could potentially spread open or break during torquing. We got 43.4 millimeters for the Pittsburgh and 43.2 for the Icon. So there is a little bit less material. The bolts that go through the head to tighten down the swivel, they are exactly the same. They look completely identical. And I'm gonna say, for the Icon is $45 as of this video, and the Pittsburgh is $17. Now, I've used this in the industrial setting, on automotive. I've put a ton of abuse through these ratchets, and I absolutely love it, especially for $17. Now, I will say, this is my third Pittsburgh swivel head ratchet. The first one broke after about 30 days, got another one. That one broke the same day, and then I got this one under warranty as well, but that's been about 5 or 6 years, I think. So the first two were duds. This one has been kicking, and I've put a ton of abuse through it. I've had this Icon for maybe a little bit over a year, and it has not broken. But I think for triple or even more than triple the cost for the Pittsburgh, I think the Pittsburgh is the far better value. And I don't even think the Icon is actually the better ratchet. You know, I do a lot of automotive work laying underneath a car, And one thing that you might run into laying on your back underneath a car is having to change the sockets. Now, a lot of people might not think about this, but you know, if you're laying underneath a car, it can be pretty hard to change sockets. Now, you can pull the socket off of the ratchet. It's not impossible to do, but it's not exactly quick and easy, and if you're a little bit oily or greasy, then it might be pretty hard to change sockets underneath a car. But if you're laying underneath a car, bam, you just press that button and slap this on another one. I think the operation of the Pittsburgh in some situations is going to be easier because of the push button changing sockets, and being an inch shorter, which this isn't something that you really need a lot of leverage on. I kind of like the shorter length of the Pittsburgh, so I think, in my opinion, for the swivel head ratchets, you know, the Icon's going to get the same treatment all the way across the board, so I'm going to apply this blanket statement to the swivel heads. I think the Pittsburghs are by far the better value over the Icon, but I think they might be the better ratchet. Now we'll talk about the Pittsburgh and the Icon flex head ratchet. These are both the 3/8 flex head ratchet. Got the, you know, Pittsburgh Pro comfort grip on here, and I chose to go with the non-comfort grip on the Icon. Now, I have seen a couple videos, and there are a lot of complaints with the Pittsburgh Pro. When you put a lot of torque on them, the fork right here tends to spread open and makes this head really floppy. Even when you tighten it down, just the lack of metal around here tends to make this head flop around a bit. I have tightened mine up so it doesn't flop around, but I know there are a lot of people that complain about that. And this is the 72. This is the 72 tooth ratchet, and the Icon is, of course, 90 teeth. And that sounds really good. That sounds very quality to me. The comfort grip on here is very good. I wish I would have gotten it on this Icon because this edge is actually pretty sharp. It hasn't cut me, but it is definitely sharper than you would want. Maybe after a couple years of abuse, it might, you know, round off and become less sharp, but I think I should have gotten the comfort grip. I'm going to get my calipers out and get some measurements on here and see if the Icon is bigger or smaller in certain areas. So I'll measure the diameter of the shaft here. 12.3 millimeters for the Pittsburgh. 12 millimeters for the Icon. Let's measure the width of the fork here. So it's 21.8 by 13.1. And the Icon, 22.2 by 15.8. So you have a lot more meat on this fork up here, which should prevent it from getting loosened and all floppy when you apply more torque. Now, you shouldn't use this improperly. I mean, I would not recommend using this on lug nuts and applying 90, 100 foot-pounds of torque through it. I don't think that's what it's designed for. But you are going to get a lot more meat on the Icon here, which will make it a lot more durable. Let's measure the thickness of the ratchet itself. 15.2 millimeters compared to 13.1. So this is a much heavier duty ratchet head. The shaft is actually a little bit thinner, but I think you are going to get more reliability out of the Icon compared to the Pittsburgh. As of recording this video, the Icon is $50 and the Pittsburgh is $27. Price difference isn't as huge on these compared to the swivel head ratchets, but this is still double the cost of the Pittsburgh. But I'm actually going to say I think the Icon is the better value and probably the better ratchet to get. You are getting the 90 teeth, and you are getting a more durable, or it should be a more durable ratchet. I think for $50, this is a solid buy. This is also, you know, a fantastic buy for $27, but I think overall, this is the better ratchet. Another key difference between the Pittsburgh and the Icon, this fork right here, the bolt that secures the ratchet through the fork is significantly larger on the Icon compared to the Pittsburgh. Let's see if I can get a measurement on that. Pretty hard to get an accurate measurement, but the bolt that secures the ratchet to the fork on the Icon looks to be about a 5mm bolt, and the Pittsburgh is a 4mm bolt. So you're getting a lot more durability at this fork up here, which if you are a full-time mechanic or you're more than just a weekend warrior, I think you're really going to benefit from that. So I think the better value for this is the Icon. And actually, the 3/8 comfort grip will not fit in the larger hole in the Harbor Freight toolbox. So you will need to get the non-comfort grip if you want any of them to fit in these holes. So I do have the 1/2" Icon flex head ratchet in addition to the 3/8 that we just talked about. Unfortunately, I don't have the 1/2" Pittsburgh to compare, but I do absolutely love this ratchet. Whenever I'm doing lug nuts or anything that's going to require a 1/2" socket, unless there is a constraint of space, this is the ratchet that I'm going for. I absolutely love it. It feels great in the hand. You get the 90 teeth. This is a really, really good ratchet. I unfortunately can't compare it to the Pittsburgh Pro because I don't have one. But one thing I will say, if you have a Harbor Freight toolbox and you like storing your ratchets, breaker bars in the side holes in the top of the toolbox, you have to go with the smooth, you have to go with the raw metal grip. You can't go with the comfort grip on your 1/2" tools unless you modify the toolbox. So that's why I chose to go without the comfort grip. And on this one, I like not having the comfort grip, I think. I like the way this feels. This feels really good in your hand. Feels like a quality piece. And yeah, like I said, every time I do anything that's gonna require a 1/2" socket, this is the ratchet that I'm going for. I never really go for this ratchet anymore unless I'm doing something that requires a smaller ratchet. 9 times out of 10, or maybe 10 times out of 10, I'm going to go for this ratchet over the Pittsburgh swivel head. This just gives you really good leverage and flexibility, and the 90 teeth is really great. So this is double the price of the Pittsburgh, but I think it's a really good buy. You can't go wrong with it. Feels really good in the hand, and the 90 teeth are great, and it hasn't broken on me. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. Absolutely love this Icon. We'll move on to the breaker bar. Final piece we're going to talk about is the Icon 25" breaker bar. I absolutely love using this breaker bar. It hasn't broken on me at all. Feels really nice. You do have a very heavy-duty bolt going through this fork here. Unfortunately, I don't have the Pittsburgh breaker bar with me to compare it side by side, but there are a ton of videos out there of that Pittsburgh Pro breaker bar doing some incredible things. Now, the price of this Icon breaker bar is $50. The Pittsburgh Pro is only $20. So this does feel really good in your hands. It feels like a very quality piece. You know, there isn't too many things that can go wrong with it. There's no ratchet, just this head. It's going to take a ton of torque to bend or break this. But going by the price and what you can see the Pittsburgh Pro breaker bar doing, I think this Icon might be the slightly better breaker bar, but by far the Pittsburgh Pro is the better value. For almost a third of the cost, the Pittsburgh Pro breaker bar is just as long, and it has the comfort grip, and it's just as stout, and it has done very well against other manufacturers. But the only downside is, like I said before, is it won't fit in the holes in the side of the Harbor Freight toolboxes. If you get the comfort grip on the Icon, it won't fit in those holes, and the Pittsburgh Pro will not fit in those holes either. So that's why I actually bought this Icon one, strictly because it fits in the spot in the toolbox where I want it to fit. So I think the Icon overall might be the slightly better breaker bar, but certainly looking at that price point, the Pittsburgh Pro is by far the better value. All right, so there you go. Those are my Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh, and Icon ratchets and breaker bar. I know this wasn't fully exhaustive and I don't have every single one of each to compare to, but I hope the information that I had in this video is at least a little bit helpful to you to determining which ratchet or breaker bar you should buy. Do you have any of these ratchets or breaker bars? Do you have any experience with them at all? Let me know in the comments down below which one you think is the better value or the best one. Do you think any suck? Do you think any are amazing? Interested in hearing all or any of your thoughts. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.